Now we're going to talk about the film John Wick, which has been directed by Cameron Sun, who has joined us today.
Hi, hello.
All right, Cameron, I've seen John Wick film twice, and I got to say, thank you. Yes, more. Like, really, it was, I'll admit, I haven't actually seen the real John Wick movie. Like, I've seen bits and pieces. I live in the country. Of course, I've heard of it. Your film, I'm like, I think I'd rather watch this because I love the magic stuff. And I got to say, where exactly did the idea come from?
I think there was a 1 week where I happened to rewatch John Wick 2 and The Deathly Hallows Part 2, the final Harry Potter film, in the same week. And then I think somehow my brain mashed them together where I was like, what if in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, there were these hitmen wizards who like were very tactical in the way they approached their fights? Because I feel like in the Harry Potter worlds, they're almost like sword fight, dance fight-ish, where there's not a lot of like the insane tacticalness of John Wick. And I thought it would just be fun to combine them.
How long did it take to put it all together, like all those action scenes?
So it was actually just a one-day shoot. It was 12 hours to film the whole thing. It was a very hectic, very intense day. But then the whole sort of beginning from ideation, producing it to finishing the film was about a 3 months process.
Would you consider doing a sequel and with like, more of that action, murder, lovely stuff?
Oh, yes, for sure. I think currently there is a plan to do a John Wick Star Wars mashup of some sort. So still trying to figure out the specifics of how the mashup will work, like what type of sort of action choreography, what things I'll reference from Star Wars, but still sort of keeping the John Wick style of action. So that's definitely coming. So I'll keep you guys posted when I have more to update on that.
The action scenes, what was the idea like when we're putting them together? Where did that come from?
It was inspired directly by like the home invasion scene, if people have seen the movie in the first John Wick, where it's just a bunch of SWAT team looking bad guys going into John Wick's house and he has to take them all out. So very much it was designed like a shootout. So it wasn't like a sword fight. It wasn't a martial arts thing initially, at least. So the first part of it was very much like if he holds the wand like a pistol and he's aiming down the barrel of the wand, he's going to take out a bunch of guys very quickly. And also just casting an actor who has an action background. Like my John Wick is played by Justin Vancho, who's like a very talented martial artist. He has like a wushu, taekwondo background. So he was just like the perfect guy for the role.
I'm looking at your work and you have a lot of action film genre. You created this in only one day to get all those scenes in. So are you athletic in those ways of yourself? Who directs this? How does this all happen so quickly?
Before doing John Wick, I had done like tons of YouTube videos before. So I'm maybe very comfortable in like the run and gun, just like get the shot. And I would operate the camera myself. So there's maybe a speed to that. Oftentimes, obviously, there's the benefit of having a professional cinematographer where they can bring a lot to the table, but then it does kind of slow down the process a little bit. So by having it be in one brain, I could just sort of move fast because I knew exactly what I needed. And then also just having performers who were great at choreography and even more experienced than I was in action. When I was younger, I took some wushu classes, but that's the extent. And I'm not really athletic, but I've always been a fan of action movies growing up, like Jackie Chan, Hong Kong action movies, and then obviously the more recent American John Wick style action films. We definitely did a lot of scouting, so I knew the location and pretty much all the major beats of the action sequences were figured out ahead of time. So even though filming was one day, I sort of knew what I had to get. We weren't necessarily deciding stuff on the day of.
Did I hear you say that the choreography was put together by the actors themselves?
So the shootout part of the choreography was more by me. That was just, I conceptualized in my head and I sort of like did a rough video board of it, of just like, here's what I want. But in the final fight between the guy with the eye patch, that was the two actors. I'm just like, I know how I want it to end. I know I want him to Akio and catch the wand and impale him in the head. But beyond that, you guys can fill in sort of the action beats. And sort of they were figuring out the choreography earlier in the day when we were still setting up the lighting and they had maybe like 2 hours to sort of just like rehearse and practice and kind of improvise basically what the fight was. Like I gave them a couple of notes. Oh, let's have a part where you're like almost throwing punches, but you're using the wand, or like you guys are shooting magic at each other and it creates like a blast that pushes you guys back. Incorporate that in some way. But very much it was them actually filling in all the choreography.
How did you find these actors, first of all?
They were friends of mine already. Justin, who played John Wick, had been in a couple of my YouTube videos before, and we had been talking about collaborating on something bigger. Kane, who plays the final boss, he actually came on very last minute. Another friend was supposed to play that role, but then that friend had a scheduling conflict. But then he hit up Kane, who I had already known before, and Kane was very down to come on board.
You shot this in LA? Is that what you said?
Yes. It was in Los Angeles. The house was just a friend's house. Like my apartment is much more like not that fancy, but I just happened to have a college friend who had a very nice place where I was like, oh, okay, let me see if she'll let us shoot an action movie in her house.
Did you say you wanted to do a Star Wars John Wick mashup? Is that what you were saying?
Yes. Hopefully sometime this year, we'll get to making sort of a spiritual sequel to John Wick. Yes.
What else other films are you interested in producing?
Like I have a YouTube channel where I make a lot of fandom, like geek culture related content, just stuff that I'm fans of, like stuff that I would have watched when I was younger. I'm actually probably in 2 weeks shooting a Spider-Man and Jackie Chan mashup short, where it's like a Hong Kong style kung fu movie, like a police story style Jackie Chan film, but he has like the Spider-Man powers. So once again, like a pun sort of wordplay name is Spider Chan. So that's another thing I'm working on.
What have you learned about yourself through the making of John Wick?
When you have an idea and you just get rid of all the excuses and just go and make it, I feel like it's always better to go and do it and learn from it than sitting on the idea phase for way too long and then never actually accomplishing it. But also another thing I learned was that I think this is what I would like to do. Like when I was on set and then even when I was in post, I kind of had moments of just realizing like, this is what I would like to do with my life, potentially on a bigger scale even than this, but even just this, getting to craft little movies and then share it with an audience is what I love to do. And if I can make a living doing it, then that would be perfect.